Yes, unrepentant wrongdoers are disfellowshipped. And we loyally uphold Jehovah's judgments when we avoid association with the wrongdoer. Now, some in Satan's permissive world may view disfellowshipping as being extreme. However, it is a beneficial arrangement.
Matthew Mauldin, thanks so much for coming on to Talk Beliefs from your home in Poughkeepsie, New York. You saw my interview with ex-Jehovah's Witness Renee Pickles not too long ago, and have now decided to speak out for the first time on your own experiences growing up JW, a life which saw you rise through the ranks only to be expelled from the group. We'll be concentrating today on the group's disfellowshipping practice and how this can often result in emotional and even physical trauma. Welcome to the show, Matthew. So, how are things over there in New York?
Well, going well. COVID's rampant right now, so everybody's a little sick in the house. Yeah. But other than that, we're doing okay. So you might hear a sniffle or two, but it's going well in Poughkeepsie.
Well, today, as we've said, we're going to be discussing what happens when the Jehovah's Witnesses expel a member from the group. But before we go into detail about your life as an elder and the aftermath of your expulsion, let's just hear a bit about your early days. Matt, you were born into the Jehovah's Witnesses, so what was family life like for you, and what are your earliest memories?
Well, I wasn't born into the Jehovah's Witness family where it was like the elder dad and the pioneer mom. So that wasn't me. I was kind of more born into the family of my father had vices in his life. You know, he had to fight with gambling, drinking, smoking addiction, other addictions in his life that he was kind of behind the scenes fighting. So I grew up in this Jehovah's Witness family where even though I was expected to live by all the rules and regulations of the religion, my father wasn't. He was disfellowshipped multiple times. He was shunned multiple times, expelled from the group, and then he would return and leave again, return, leave again. And it was kind of my job in my younger family life to be the quote unquote perfect witness, to try and be the family beacon of the religion. So yeah, I grew up going to the meetings faithfully. I grew up going in field service. And it was kind of my job to try and keep the family name. I would practice it. I think I was about 6 years old when I joined what they call a theocratic ministry school, which is a program, a speech training program to help you to be better in the theocratic ministry. It helps you to learn how to introduce the message, how to preach to people, how to help with your conversion.
Seems very young.
Yeah, well, yeah. So yeah, I was 6, and I remember like having a laundry hamper with a spoon taped to it, and that was like my microphone and stage, my microphone and podium. And I had to be ready at 6 years old. You got to be able to preach. You got to be able to go and give talks and give speeches, and you have to be able to do this. So yeah, I mean, I kind of had to be the golden child from a young age.
And now it's helping you to speak out against them.
Yeah.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know, how would you describe the Jehovah's Witnesses? How do they differ from other Bible-believing groups?
The word I would use is strict. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of know Jehovah's Witnesses as being very strict religion. There isn't any type of leniency to scripture interpretation. The Bible is considered to be the book which they have their own very literal translation of. And everything that they have translated, everything that they have understood, you have got to live by those beliefs. You have to live by those beliefs, by exactly what they believe. The Bible teaches word for word. So it's a very strict religion. There's scriptures in the Hebrew scriptures about blood, even in the Greek scriptures as well. They take that so literal about consumption of blood that they believe that you should refuse a blood transfusion at all costs. Even if you're going to die, at least you'll die with integrity towards your God. they have strict beliefs such as who will make it into heaven. They don't believe that the heavenly hope is for everybody. In fact, the earthly hope, living on earth forever, is what everybody's supposed to attain to. So that's what the most Jehovah's Witnesses believe, that they will live on earth forever as long as they do what they're told. Only 144,000 people make it to heaven. That number was a very strict interpretation of Revelation chapter 7:14. Very, very direct interpretation of the Bible.
Like an elite group get to go there.
Exactly. It's an elite group. So yeah, they also believe that, they are the one true religion. And in order to keep their congregation clean, there is what they call disfellowshipping practice, or shunning. And so I know we'll talk about that in a little bit, but they believe that if you are not able to adhere to the Bible's strict moral code, strict code of ethics and conduct, then you will basically be met with by 3 elders, 3 older men in the congregation. I served as an elder at one point, and those individuals will determine if you can stay in the congregation. If they believe that you have violated, the Bible's code of morals and conduct, and B, that you were not repentant, or that you kept doing it or did it so many times that it showed that you were unrepentant, you will be removed from the congregation, dismissed, not spoken to.
Wow. When you were 21, you were a ministerial servant in the church, and then you applied to serve in a facility known as Bethel. Matt, can you tell us what Bethel is and why it's significant? And also, what are the duties of a so-called Bethelite?
Bethel is, it's kind of viewed as like the pinnacle of what you can do as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's the headquarters of the religion. And the closest thing I could kind of equate it to, in it's almost funny, is the military. Because, Jehovah's Witnesses don't join the military. They're not allowed to, because they're no part of this world. But Bethel's a lot like it. There's an application process. Once you apply there and you're accepted, you live there, you work there, you're given a monthly reimbursement. There's a commissary. I think the monthly reimbursement right now is about $140 to $150 a month. That's about all you're doing. And then you're living off of your savings, pretty much. And you're just hoping to make ends meet there. But it's this very difficult application process. You usually have about like a 1 in 200 chance to get in, as far as like what the odds are for how many Jehovah's Witnesses there are versus how many Bethelites there are. So it's kind of this almost like rite of passage. When I was 21, I decided to leave my congregation in Cleveland, Ohio, and move to Mexico. And I felt that this would give me kind of a leg up on the competition, so to speak, trying to move out and serve where the need is greater, trying to help somebody in another country, trying to help people in foreign areas. So I did that. About 8 or 9 months into my time in Mexico, I received the call that my application to Bethel had been accepted, and I was now able to go. This was remarkable for me. So I picked up everything that I was doing in Mexico. I went home to Cleveland real quick, spent 2 weeks in Cleveland to unpack, repack, get all my stuff, move to New York. And I've been in New York ever since because of that move. But Bethel is an interesting place. There's a introduction process. You have about like a week or 2 orientation where they get you kind of used to the lay of the land. And then you start learning, you have to eat a certain way at the tables. You have to be there for morning worship every morning. You have a work assignment from 8 to 5 every day.
And obviously dress a certain way, I'm imagining.
Oh yeah. You have to wear your ties and your suits and everything.
No beards, probably.
No. So a lot of people, when they saw me with the beard for the first time, they were appalled that I had a beard. So yeah, very, very strict process there as well. Very religiously oriented. There's a lot of personal study. There's a lot of talks, speeches, discussions that they have to try and make sure that you're keeping up to date with your spiritual routine. You're expected to read the Bible within your first year. You're expected to attend a Bethel entrance school, which is about 3 months long, where they indoctrinate you to, further beliefs. So it's kind of, it is a little bit of brainwashing there as well. They want to make sure that you're really fit to be in the headquarters of this organization. When I first started there, I worked in laundry for a few months, and then I moved over to this assignment where I was assigned to their infirmary. So my job was to take care of elderly individuals. These are previous religious missionaries, previous Bethelites, individuals who have served with the organization for years. And it was my job to take care of them as they were passing away, as they were dying. So we did that. Then eventually my job assignment kind of switched over, and I was entrusted to assist these elderly individuals who were living in Brooklyn at the time to move over to a complex that we had purchased in Fishkill. That entailed moving about 150 elderly individuals from their residences and just lifting them up and moving them into almost like an apartment complex in Fishkill. You know, that was very difficult. And there's nothing to prepare you for that, you know, but Bethel's a very unique environment, and anybody who has served there will tell you it's all encompassing. It's your life. Once you sign up for that, you pretty much, that's what you do.
And the main one is in Warwick, isn't it? In upstate New York.
Yeah, they have multiples. So yeah, Warwick is considered a world headquarters. Paterson, New York is considered a world headquarters. Walk Hill is considered a U.S. branch, and Fishkill is considered a U.S. branch. So they've tried to differentiate headquarters from the U.S. branch now. That's the best way I could kind of try and explain it. They've tried to, you know, put, okay, now Warwick and Paterson are world headquarters. Walk Hill and Fishkill are the actual U.S. branch, because they are a worldwide organization.
Right. But you were really into it at this point, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You were high up in the ranks as Jehovah's Witnesses go. You eventually became an elder, serving on judicial committees, and a Bethelite as well. Now, your future in the group seemed secure, but around the age of 30, things started to fall apart. So tell us about that.
I have to remember there just being a certain point where I started to kind of question a lot of these beliefs. You know, I mean, I was always taught that, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses were this perfect religion because they use the Bible to cross-compare the Bible against itself. But you're never taught that, you know, maybe these strict interpretations aren't healthy for people, or maybe they're not right. Maybe they're not accurate. And I started kind of having doubts, but doubts aren't really allowed in that religion. The more you doubt, the more you're told that you're just being spiritually weak. Which, you know, as an elder and a Bethelite, you can't be. You have to be spiritually strong, the pinnacle of spirituality. So I did have doubts going into my 30s, but to be honest with you, I started thinking to myself that maybe this isn't the right religion. Maybe they're not right. But my life is secure and it's safe, and I don't want to leave it. Maybe the best thing to do is just to accept that even if they're wrong, it's the best way of life. Maybe. And that's kind of like where I started going mentally. And I started kind of going through the motions. However, being on judicial committees myself, I started realizing that there's something not right about this. I remember being a part of a committee and having to ask people the most inappropriate questions. You know, they view sexual misconduct as very, very detailed explanation that has to be had with the individual. You know, you have to tell very, very inappropriate and uncomfortable parts of what you've done. And honestly, with the information we're given as elders, you shouldn't have to ask that many questions. I mean, pretty much you have to figure out, was there a sin committed? Was the person repentant? That's it. I don't have to ask how detailed they got into it. I just need to figure out, did a sin get committed? So I started wondering why these elders and individuals who I'm serving on the committees with are asking detailed questions that are just wrong. I mean, like raunchy is the word I would use. Just inappropriate. And I started realizing that, you know, this is just not something I don't think I'm going to be able to do long term. You know, eventually I had my doubts. It led to the point of where I did end up getting kicked out of Bethel. I was discharged from Bethel. And then eventually I was disfellowshipped from the group.
Did you express your doubts to someone, or did they just see that you weren't giving your all? Is that it?
No, I expressed my doubts. They saw I wasn't giving my all. And then even with my conduct, I didn't care to be this perfect, according to their standards, perfect human being anymore. It was just exhausting. And I saw such hypocrisy. You know, they tell you don't overly indulge in alcohol, yet Bethel has this huge reputation of being full of Jehovah's Witnesses who drink the most. And it just became this hypocrisy, and I no longer really wanted to be a part of it. And yeah, eventually, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses say that I fell out of the truth. That's what they'll say I did. I fell out of it. I didn't keep up my studying. I didn't want to go to meetings anymore. I didn't want to keep up going out in the field ministry and preaching to people about a religion I didn't really believe in anymore. And I fell out of the organization and was later disfellowshipped.
Is it because you, as they say, faded? You stopped going to all the meetings? I think it's like 3 a week, isn't it? And perhaps you went to 1 a week and they noticed. Is that it?
No. To be disfellowshipped, you have to actually decide that, you know, your conduct is going to be outside of what they view as, you know, perfect. So you can be disfellowshipped for over drinking. You can be disfellowshipped for smoking. You can be disfellowshipped for sexual affairs outside of marriage. Anything like that, you can be disfellowshipped for.
So you were expelled and left the group with nothing. You fell into a depression, and sadly this led you to do something desperate. So tell us what happened.
So in March of 2021, I had just fallen into a deep depression. What people don't understand about the religion is that they don't prepare you for offboarding. There's no departure preparation whatsoever. And when you leave, you're left with nothing, especially when you're raised into it. So now you imagine I'm raised into a religion where Jehovah's Witnesses are taught, and I did miss this earlier. They're taught that you're not supposed to have communication and friendships with the outside world. Only those who are Jehovah's Witnesses should be your friends. So now imagine being raised that way. You have no friends who are on the outside world, and then you're disfellowshipped. You're shunned. You're given nobody. You have no friends. You're put in an emotional solitary confinement, and you're already in a weakened emotional state. So that happened to me, and I got to the point of where I no longer wanted to live. I took probably about 30 or 40 pills, really strong antidepressant pills, and overdosed and almost died. I was in the hospital for 46 days before I could be released. I was in a coma for I think about a week to a week and a half. I was on life support. I had to be on dialysis for about a month and a half until my kidneys could kick back again. And during all that time of me being in the hospital and having nobody, not a single elder in the congregation reached out to me, not a single one of my friends, previous friends had reached out to me. I was completely abandoned and left to my own. So it was devastating. And I think at that time in the hospital is where I really made my choice that this was no longer for me. This is where I became angry, because I had given my life. I had given 10 years in Bethel service to take care of people who were dying. And here I was, in effect, almost dead. And nobody reached out to me. Nobody.
And they knew? They knew that you were in the hospital.
Yeah.
They knew this had happened.
Yes. And nobody reached out to me. So it was just, that's where I realized, like, this religion's in it for itself. They want you to do what they want you to do. And then if you say no, you're on your own. That's it. So, you just, there's so much I have to say about that. And, I'll just answer the question and leave it at that for now. But yeah, at that point, I was in a really low spot in my life.
Thankfully, you've come through your ordeal and are living a much happier life out of the Witnesses. But you've done a lot of thinking about this group and about what happened to you. So, regarding your expulsion and all the suffering that resulted, have you concluded that there is a link between this practice of disfellowshipping and self-harm?
Yes. I've reached out to multiple people about this as well in certain forums and groups, and I have found in my personal experience and my personal research that there is a direct connection between disfellowshipping and mental illness. Individuals who give their life and devote their life to baptism as one of members of Jehovah's Witnesses, they're devoting their life to God. They're told that they are giving up of themselves and devoting their life wholly and solely to God. Once that's done, their life means nothing to them personally. And then once they're disfellowshipped, there's nothing to turn to. The religion is your life. And I feel so bad for so many people, and I've heard so many stories. And as I shared my story in a few different places, people reached out to me and they were telling me that sons, daughters, cousins, best friends, brothers, and sisters had killed themselves because they were disfellowshipped. And I think of myself, and I was fortunate to make it out. But I'm not the only person who was raised one of Jehovah's Witnesses who was then disfellowshipped and not know how you survive in a world. I mean, you go into a world where you don't even know how to make friends. You don't know how to meet people. You're very sheltered. You live a very sheltered life where, you don't lose your virginity to marriage. You don't you don't do any drugs. You don't do alcohol. You don't do this. You don't do that. And then you go to the world and you don't know what you're supposed to do. And you get so lonely, so depressed. You feel like you don't belong anywhere, because I didn't belong with the Witnesses because I failed. And I know I don't belong in the world because I don't know a thing about this world. Where do you belong? Where's your friend group? Where's your niche? Where's anything? And so I decided to make my story heard, to try and to tell people who are going into this religion to just be careful, because the religion is very appealing to individuals who are going through emotional difficulty. It appeals to the depressed. It appeals to the emotionally vulnerable, because now you have hope. You have a new world you're going to live in. You have all these beautiful hopes for the future that they talk about. And then if you don't live up to their rules, you're on your own, and all you want to do is just disappear. So I just hope that anybody going into this religion is prepared, that they know the rules, they know all the guidelines, all the biblical principles and scriptures that they apply very directly, and that they know that there's really no going back. You have to accept it wholeheartedly, or else you will be on your own. And I just hope that this can save one person who's out there and then they're on the fence and they're wondering, can I make it? Can I make it? Because the answer is yes. But I just hope that somebody out there listening can just be saved of the turmoil that I had to go through.
It's been quite a journey that's led to where you are now, and I want to congratulate you, Matt, on battling through and speaking out and telling your story. So if there's anybody watching this interview who may still be in the JWs or similar high demand group and is unsure or perhaps even a little bit afraid, what would you say to them right now?
I would acknowledge it's terrifying. And I would tell anybody out there listening that's maybe wondering, am I doing the right thing by staying in this religion? Take care of yourself. It's okay that you're having doubts. We're taught that doubts are a sign of lack of faith in God. Well, No. Doubts are just a matter of you being brainwashed over and over and over again, and finally now coming to your senses. One thing that I would like to remind people who are Jehovah's Witnesses is think to yourself how much studying we are encouraged to do in what they call the Bible and Bible-based publications. They want you every single day to do some kind of digging into this religion so that you know it's true at the end of the day. They want to brainwash you. They want you every day to read a piece of material they've written. Who would do that? Who wants you every day to read something they've written because it's that important? It's just, there are so many other support groups out there as well. And so for those who are kind of on the fence and they're dealing with struggles, reach out to Facebook groups. There's multiples out there. There's even myself personally. My name's Matthew Mauldiin. You can find me on Facebook. Reach out to me if you'd like to. And there's individuals who are going through the exact same things that you're going through. And I would also reach out to tell people this. Jehovah's Witnesses are taught that if you reach outside of the organization to get support, that you are an apostate. You're not an apostate for questioning something that doesn't make sense to you. You're a human, and it's okay. It's okay. You're taught that by being an apostate, you are a horrible human being. An apostate is one of the worst things you could ever call a Jehovah's Witness. And I've been called it. But you're not.
And it means a hopefully irredeemable person, doesn't it?
Irredeemable person that is trying to actively work against God. That's not me. That's not me. I just want to actively make sure that people don't try taking their lives for a stupid belief system. You know, live your life, take care of yourself, reach out to the support groups, find good friends, and they're out there. And I hope that just like I've been able to conquer this and see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that anybody who's going through this trial can fight it. It's going to take a few months, maybe even years, to really get out of your dark hole, but you can. And once you do, you see that there are actually people in the world who are just genuinely good people, and you find them and you be that person. I don't fault Jehovah's Witnesses for teaching the moral beliefs that I have. I feel like I am a good person because of some of the morals that I have. But it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And I hope that people out there can just live their best life, be their best person, live with good Bible principles and standards, and not feel pressure and shame that the religion puts on the disfellowshipping arrangement.
Matthew Mauldiin, thank you very much indeed.
Well, thanks, Mark. I really appreciate you having me on, and I hope that, not only this one, but the multiple podcasts that you've put out, I hope they'll have a difference in people's lives and that they can, again, live their best life.